I'm Vanessa Wright, the girl on a bike, and in this video we're going to be talking about the massive thing behind me, and that is ferries and things that you should know and think about if you're going to take a motorcycle on a ferry. So if you live anywhere like me, for example, England, the UK, we're on an island. And so to get a motorcycle to some of the most epic riding conditions, scenery, mountains that you could wish for example, Belgium, where I'm about to go now, then a ferry like this is going to be one of your options to get yourself off the island. So I'm here at the P&O Dover port on the way to Calais, and this video we're going to be talking about things that you need to know to take your motorcycle on a ferry successfully. So I'm here on the Ducati Panigale. Fluffy is also with me and we are on the Ducati Multistrada. So we've got two slightly different bikes, and in this video we're going to talk about some of the things that I want you to think about, and it will just make going on a ferry that much easier. It can be quite a stressful thing to think about. You've got to get there on time, you've got check-in, you've got passports. On a motorcycle you're not always as easily able to just grab documents because obviously you've got helmets and gloves on. So let's talk about some of the things that I always think about with regards to a ferry. Now the first and most important thing is going to be that every ferry is going to be slightly different. So make sure that you're reading the advice and the communication that the ferry is giving you. I'm here with P&O and the communications have been absolutely fantastic. I've had text message updates, I've had emails, and I know the itinerary. We have a 7:15 sailing and they said we needed to be there as a minimum 60 minutes before. So we arrived an hour and a half before just to give ourselves plenty of breathing time. With me, I always say that you can kill time chilling out, grabbing a coffee, but you can't make up time. And on a motorcycle especially, rushing and riding faster because you're late is a dangerous mindset to be in. So give yourself plenty of time and make sure you get there. When you get to your check-in, you're going to need your passport and you're going to need your reference number. Don't be that person that is like, where's my reference number? And you're looking through emails or digging through the back of panniers to find it. Have it handy on your phone, maybe print it on a piece of paper, take a screenshot of it, just make sure you've got it and you've got your passport. And then you're going to get to that check-in. Typically you're going to have border control first. You're then likely to go through security, and for some reason, I don't know why, motorcycles are really often searched. Today we got pulled aside for the search and we literally had to say, no, we don't have a gun or explosive or any of these weapons in our bags, and they let us on. So we didn't have to open the huge pannier that has my knickers in it. Anyway, a tank bag is incredibly handy. So I've got the little Mosko one. You'll have seen this on many bikes on my channel. It is so easy to go on basically pretty much any bike. Clips around the front and two little cable ties around here. The reason I have the Mosko bag is because you're in a queue where you're going to be moving forward, stopping, neutral, moving forward, stopping, and having your passports, your money, etc. really easy to access makes that a lot less of a faff. I tend to take my gloves off early. I know you don't want to be riding a motorcycle without gloves on. If you come off, the gravel rash is awful, but you're going 5-10 miles an hour max. So what I tend to do is take my gloves off and use them. Obviously, you're not all going to have a camera stand. You can use a wing mirror and you can use the Velcro of the gloves to hold them on, and that way you know your gloves are safe. You're not going to sort of slip them under your legs and miss dropping one and then be in an awkward faff where you're trying to pick it off the ground. There's little things that just make it a little bit less stressful. The next really big ferry hack is a bulldog clip. They are a tiny little essential stationary piece of equipment, literally cost pennies. Have it in your tank bag, and when you get your details at check-in, they'll tell you what lane that you need to be in and stuff like that. And you put that onto your screen with the bulldog clip. If you put it on the outside, it will flap and blow around. So make sure you put it on the inside. I always put it on so that my lane is visible to me riding, because I have a memory like a goldfish. Ooh, bubbles. Ooh, castle. So if I've got it there, I can keep looking at it as I'm riding along. Then when you get onto your ferry, depending on where you're going, your ferry will be a different length of time. The P&O Dover Calais ferry is a really quick ferry. So I'm going to literally get off the bike with my money to go and have breakfast in the lounge on the ferry. But if you're on an overnight ferry, you might want to have your panniers packed ready so that you've got your little overnight bag ready to whip off and take with you onto the boat. Because once you're on the ferry, it is very, very unlikely you'll be able to re-access your bike once you leave it. I've never been on a ferry where you can get back to your bike. So anything that you leave on the bike is gone. When you then get off your bike, you've got to bear in mind that the ferry is going to move. So there's a strapping down process that the bike's going to go through. And that's really important. So we're going to get to that. But before we get to that, you've got to get from where you are right now to on the ferry. And this can be, I'd say, a little bit stressful for some riders because it isn't just flat, smooth tarmac. And I don't want to freak you out. I don't want to panic you. But you're going to get ramps. You're going to get bumpy, undulating surfaces. The ferry ground tends to be more of a metal material, which means if it's wet or if there's oil, there's a lot of vehicles going on and off, it can be really slippery. So keep your eyes and be really vigilant for the terrain that you're riding on and just go really slowly. If you're feeling a little bit uneasy, have your feet down. Make sure that you are just riding within your comfort zone. It can be really easy when they start with their fluorescent jackets, waving you on and ushering you this way and telling you to keep coming, to get into a flap and get panicked. There is no rush. If you take an extra 30 seconds or a minute getting yourself and your motorcycle onto that boat safely, the world is going to be okay and the boat is still going to leave on time. Your safety and your motorcycle safety is more important, and also your mental state of anxiety. So just take it steady and look around on the ground. There are lots of big round lumps on the ground of a ferry, and they are tie down points. You don't really want to hit one of those. You can find that when you go onto the ferry, you might have to go up a ramp and do a U-turn and go up another ramp. There's loads of layers and cabins in these things. So just be mindful that you might need to do some maneuvering. You might have to do a U-turn. You might have to do a little bit of shuffling backwards and forwards. Just breathe, take your time. If any of this sounds like you're going to be nervous, then check out my other video on top tips for your balance, because slow riding control can really help you with this. And get yourself to the back of your local Walmart or Tesco's car park on a Sunday when it's quiet and practice some figure 8s and some U-turns. It's really great riding drills anyway. So next we have the strap down of your bike. Now the majority of motorcycles have a reliable side stand. We look at all of the bikes in this lineup. If it's the sort of bike that's going on a ferry, it's going to have a side stand. And that is the key part that you're going to be using when you get onto the ferry. The stewards are going to usher you and tell you where to park. You might want to then use your mind to shuffle yourself forwards or back within the tolerance they're going to allow to make sure that the center of your saddle is in the right place for tie down points that are on either side. Now, every ferry is slightly different, so this isn't going to be this is how to do it on the ferry you're going on. Sometimes there are anchors in the ground that the straps go onto. Sometimes there's a long chain that all of the straps go to. Sometimes it's more to the wall. You're going to have to read the scenario quickly when you get on, but the likelihood is there's going to be stewards who sometimes take responsibility, but really you want to be checking those straps. Don't just trust somebody else. Make sure that you're happy with the bike. Now, straps onto some motorcycles is going to be damaging to your paintwork. So you might want to, depending on your bike, bring a microfiber cloth or something like that to protect your paintwork from the straps. I tend to know the fact that I don't need my coat once I'm on the ferry. So I tend to put my coat over the bike. The strap's going to come over that. And with the side stand, with the bike in first gear, don't leave it in neutral because then it can roll. Leave it in first gear, strap it down on either side, and one strap tends to be all you need. But if you aren't feeling confident, if you give that bike a wobble, think about the waves that a boat could do. If you feel like it's uneasy, then go with your gut and do a little bit more strapping. You might want to put something down to the front forks. You know your bike, make sure it's secure before you leave it. And then finally, once you've taken all your kit off and you know that it's safe, it's highly unlikely anyone's going to be able to be near your bike to steal anything, but do be mindful that there are sadly scumbags everywhere in the world. So do make it safe to leave, take your key, everything like that. And definitely take your helmet or secure your helmet because you don't want it rolling. If you just left it on the ground and it was wobbly at sea, your helmet could roll and get ruined. And then the last thing you're going to do before you leave your motorcycle, which is very important, is make sure you're turning off any Immobilizer alarm. A lot of bikes will think they're being stolen being on a ferry, and they'll sit there the whole of the trip, particularly if it's an overnight trip or a longer ferry, and they'll sit there going, help, 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 until you get back to them or until their battery's dead. And you're going to get back to your bike and have a flat battery, and you'll be that plum pushing your bike off the ferry. So make sure you do it. Not all bikes have it, so get to know your bike. We are about to be ushered on. We've got a man in a fluorescent jacket, so I'm going to calmly but quickly get myself ready, and I will get myself onto the ferry, and then we're going to go up to the lounge area on the P&O ferry and enjoy some breakfast. Let me know if you've got any questions, any comments, and thanks so much for watching. I'm Vanessa at The Girl on a Bike. Safe ferrying. Let's go on a cruise. It's a ferry, but we're going on a cruise, baby.